This is workbook page 311. This is something we've talked a little bit about, but I noticed that some people are still struggling with a little bit. So it does pop up again in lesson 22 in your workbook. So the directions for this problem on page 311 say to plot and label the approximate location of each value on the number line. So again, we are not going to be exact on these, on some of these, but we are going to put an approximate location for each of these numbers on the number line. So I guess we'll just start with the first one, the square root of 17. So right away, hopefully we notice that 17 is not a perfect square. So I have to think, well, which perfect squares does the square root of 17 come between? And I know that the square root of 16 is a perfect square, and the square root of 16 is 4. And then I know the next perfect square is 25. The square root of 25 is 5. So I know the square root of 17 is going to come in between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. Because 17 is much closer to 16 than it is to 25, I know that on my number line, the square root of 17 is going to be a lot closer to where the square root of 16 would belong. Since the square root of 16 is 4, I know that I can place the square root of 17 pretty close, pretty close to 4 on my number line. So here we go. I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to say that is the square root of 17. And I'm just being approximate. It's much closer to 4 than it is to 5. So I've done that one. The cubic root of 120. Again, I'm thinking, what are cubic roots close to 120? And I know the cubic root of 125 is equal to 5. So I know my cubic root of 120 is going to be really, really close to 5. I don't even really have to go that much deeper into it. I just know it's going to be really, really close to 5 here. I don't know why my Apple Pencil keeps doing that. Maybe it's some sort of weird shortcut. I don't know. But cubic root of 120 is going to be there. Next, I have 1/9. Hopefully, we're all really good with that. That 1/9 is pretty small. It's if I were taking this 1 and I were splitting it into 9 little even spots. So if I had 8 little lines, right, this would be 1/9, 2/9, 3/9, 4/9, 5/9, 6/9, 7/9, 8/9, and 9/9 would be one whole. That was just a little review for you. But basically, I know that where 1/9 should go on a number line. That is not something new to this module. That is not something new to 8th grade. That should have been kind of the easy one for everyone, 1/9. The square root of 2. Is the square root of 2 a perfect square? No, don't get confused. A lot of times people think 1 and 1 is 2, but 1 times 1 is not 2. 1 times 1 is 1. So again, I'm thinking, what are the perfect squares around the square root of 2? Well, of course, the square root of 1. 1 is a perfect square because 1 times 1 is 1. And then 4 is a perfect square, and the square root of 4 is 2. Well, what is the number 2 closer to? The number 2 is closer to 1 than it is to 4. So I know that the square root of 2 is going to be between these two numbers, and it is going to be a lot closer to 1 since the square root of 2 is closer to the square root of 1 than it is to the square root of 4. So the square root of 2 on my number line will be closer to 1 than it is to 4. Let's see. All right. So it's not really in the middle. I'm going to try to put it kind of closer to 1 here. Square root of 2. All right, that one's done. What's left? The cubic root of 3. Cubic root of 27, sorry. Is 27 a perfect cube? Is there something times something times something that equals 27? Hopefully by now we are saying yes, 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 that is 3. So that one should be pretty exact, the only exact one on our number line so far. So the cubic root of 27 is 3. Which brings us to our last number, the square root of 27. The square root of 27 is not a perfect square. There is not something times something that will equal 27. So I have to think, okay, well, what are the perfect squares around the square root of 27? 25 is a perfect square because 5 times 5 is 25. And then the next closest perfect square is 36 because 6 times 6 is 36. So I'm going to be asking, so I'm going to notice right away, hopefully, that 27 does come in between 25 and 36. Since 27 is closer to 25, I know the square root of 27 is going to be closer to the square root of 25, which is 5. Again, this is approximate. It's going to be closer to 5 than it is to 6. It's definitely not in the middle. It's definitely closer. So I'm going to put the square root of 27, hello, right here. Hopefully that looks like a 27. All right, so again, this is workbook page 311. You should have this now filled in on this workbook page.